Today, we're going to talk about cybernetic killers, some bratty kids, and some iffy CGI. It's the suburban techno thriller, Ghost in the Machine, next on Drew Reviews. So I can actually remember when the trailers came out for this movie. I used to watch WCW Saturday Night back in like the early 90s, and they would show a lot of mid-level, mid-budget movie trailers, like this, or I believe that same year, like The Vanishing came out, Rapid Fire, stuff like that. And I remember seeing the trailer for this, and hearing that narrative Ghost in the Machine. Man, I want to see that. Well, I never got around to seeing it until actually today. I bought this for my birthday earlier this summer and actually thought, I'm going to watch Ghost in the Machine. Me and my wife had just watched Indiana Jones and Raiders, and I said, I'm kind of on a Karen Allen kick. So put this in today, and it's kind of a mixed bag. I think I want to like it more than I actually like it. To get into the plot real briefly, you've got Karen Allen. She's a single mom. She's got this kid, this real bratty kid, and she's going to buy this gift for her boss, who's like anal retentive or whatever, super organized. And so they go to this computer store, and she ends up buying this software and leaving her address book back when people had such things. And it turns out the address book killer who is there in Cleveland around this time actually works there and gets her address book. And of course, this guy's crazy, so he ends up driving crazy and he slips off the road in this electrical storm that they're having, goes down this hill, ends up crashing in this cemetery. And the next scene, he's going in for this MRI. He's kind of in and out, and this electrical storm hits just as he flatlines, and so his soul gets sucked into this place, and he ends up going into this place called Data Link or Data something. It's this large computer mainframe, and so now you got this computer hacker and the serial killer, and he can get anywhere he wants. He's got like unlimited abilities. And of course, he's obsessed with Terry, played by the great Karen Allen. And he starts going through her address book and killing people one by one in some glorious ways that we'll get into. Along the way, Chris Mulkey comes in, and I love Chris Mulkey. Of course, he was in The Hidden. He's that first killer in that movie that I absolutely love. Be sure and check out that review here on this channel. And Chris is this uh, kind of washed up uh, wonderkind of a computer hacker himself, and he helps her along the way as they try to figure out what's going on, how he's killing everybody that she loves. Like in a week, he kills 3 or 4 people in her address book. And that's pretty much it as far as Ghost in the Machine goes. This movie was directed by Rachel Talalay, who, of course, she was with New Line Cinema, and she did Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, which is just a terrible movie. It's not my least favorite Freddy, but it's got its issues. And of course, it bombed. I believe this might have been the next thing she did, and it didn't do very well either. After this, she did Tank Girl in '95, and Tank Girl bombed. I don't think she's directed too many. I wouldn't call this a big budget film. I think it was like $12 million, enough money, but I don't think she's gotten any more chances like that. Of these three of her big movies, I do enjoy this probably the most. But as far as things I like about this movie, of course, Karen Allen and Chris Mulkey, they're both really good performance-wise in this. So the CGI in this movie is really spotty as far as the finale, but some of it I really like in this movie. There's this whole part where the killer can get into appliances. You see him moving down like telephone wires, and the camera's following it. And I thought Rachel Talalay did a good job shooting that. But like he's going through appliances, coming out of electrical outlets, through power cords, and I thought that was pretty cool. How all that was shot. The deaths in this movie are pretty good. The best one of all being her friend Frank. Yeah, he's kind of the big guy. I believe he was from her work, but he goes home after a long day and puts this microwave TV dinner in and puts it on to cook. And so he's the first one actually on the list. The killer ends up coming in through the electrical, and he ends up making the microwave go haywire. He goes in to check it, and of course it shocks him, electrocutes him, and starts nuking the room, cooking from the inside out. His skin's bubbling. There's some really good practical effects there. You got bananas being squished and all kinds of things. The popcorn starts popping on the counter. I thought that was a really good scene, and without a doubt, the best kill in the movie. The kill of the babysitter was pretty good. Of course, she's this real snobby, self-centered girl. She's in the kitchen. She's got her TV plugged in through an extension cord, and so it's hanging on the floor. The killer ends up coming through the dishwasher, and so water starts leaking out, and she can't hear it. She's got in living color, telling you when this movie was made, playing, blasting in the background. And so the water gets in around the electrical cord, and the command prompts on the dishwasher are funny. Just as it hits, it says on the cycle, explode. So I had a lot of fun. I kind of chuckled at that. And of course, she's snotty and she ends up getting it. There's this really weird death where this guy that Terry's dating, he's like this crash test guy on these cars. And of course, he's got these dummies, crash test dummies in the car. He wants to do everything himself, calls everybody morons. He ends up getting in there after something fails. The killer comes in through the electrical, of course, and the car ends up taking with him hanging half out of it through the wall and crashes, but he's fine. That was really weird. Um, he gets up like nothing happened, tells everybody they're fired, goes into the bathroom, washes his hands, uh, hits the dryer on the wall, and it shoots fire like a flamethrower. And I'm like, that was weird. It kind of reminded me of Final Destination in a way. Like you think he's gonna die this way, but the thing's just toying with him, and it's actually gonna kill him. You know, through the hand dryer on the wall. I just that whole scene to me was a little wonky. And speaking of wonky things, um, the finale of this movie, the CGI, this is 1993, so the finale's pretty bad, pretty dated as far as that goes. I'm sure for 1993 it looked really cool. They end up going back to this data place, and the thing manifests itself in pixels. And she pulls a gun on him and starts shooting, and the pixels, the bullets going through, and then the pixels come back, and, kind of like a rubber man or something. That's very dated, but I thought it was cool and ambitious at the same time. You got this whole subplot with the babysitter and the kid, and the kid in this movie, Karen Allen's son. He's probably the worst thing about this movie. He's this little white kid who thinks he's a thug and talks like a thug, and he got on my nerves. His friend is Brandon Quentin Adams. He was in People Under the Stairs as Fool. I really liked him. But yeah, the main kid, I believe his name was Josh. He was terrible. Uh, I, Not the actor, just the character and how the character was written. But Brandon Quentin Adams' character and Josh, they end up paying the babysitter like $37 to have her unbutton her top and see her in her bra. That scene was just weird. I know as kids we did stupid stuff like that, but I don't know. It seemed out of place in this movie. The other thing about this is the people who made it probably had a rudimentary knowledge of how computers worked. And, of course, this is 93, so there's very primitive emails being sent in this movie, but you can just tell they didn't have that much knowledge of how things worked and, how systems traveled between each other. But you got to love things whenever the technology doesn't hold up. This is 30 years later, so I can't give it too hard of a time for that. I know it sounds like I'm bagging on this movie from like a technical and a story standpoint, but I really did enjoy Ghost in the Machine, even if it wasn't exactly what I expected story wise. It still was competent. On IMDb, this is a 4.6, which I think is way, way too low. I would go like 5.7, 5.8, because I did enjoy it, uh, somewhat. I would recommend it if you're into like 90s movies, lower budget thrillers. I think you would like this and probably have a good time with this. Fans of Karen Allen, I don't know if she would be enough because she is in the movie quite a bit, but I don't think she's given quite enough to do, given her capabilities as an actor. It was slightly disappointing. I was wanting more, but I was also kind of somewhat prepared for the bad that I'd read about online. So yeah, if you like all those things, give this a shot. So guys, thank you for watching this review. Let me know if you like Ghost in the Machine and movies like that, especially from that time period, the early 90s, which I got a soft spot for those because I was, a teenage kid back then. So anyway, yeah, if you like what you see, guys, be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, I'm Andrew, and I'll see you down the line.